So we'll actually give another just one more minute and then we'll start, huh? How about that? It's like, okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's start.
Okay,
Mr.
yeah,
Zoe?
inshallah. Go ahead.
Okay.
You are on live, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, well, Assalam. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we will have a interactive webinar on product innovation, and I am Adil Faisal, and I pretty much spent all my life around product innovation in startups. Like I started my journey as a software engineer, but then also working in startups. Went through good and bad startups, and then as my career progressed, I gravitated more toward the product innovation side than pure coding side. And now, since COVID, we have been running a venture studio, which is, you can think of it like a startup factory or product innovation factory. So, so today we'll share a couple of things that we are all unique, right? There is a saying like we are you are unique like everybody else, right? But when you're innovating, and we fall through the same patterns of we tend to make the same kinds of mistakes. Our brains are kind of at some level wired in the same way. So you will see that the product, those who do product innovation, participates in hackathon, you'd see that when you start making a product, will go through the same steps. So today we'll talk about those kind of high level cycles that you'll see. You will be living through it as you start the hackathon and start your journey in product making, inshallah. And it's a very rewarding career. It's not like only you have to be an entrepreneur to make products. No, all companies across the board makes products. And when I say products, I mean products and services together. So Office 365 is a product. This Miro we are using is a product. Zoom we are using is a product, right? So it's everywhere. So and I've been following the webinars that have been done in this week, throughout this week, and we delve quite deeply into the technical know-hows, which is absolutely important, especially for if you're gravitating toward making technical products. But today we'll go a little bit higher level and talk about what constitutes a product, whether it's a software product or something else, whether it's a car or a software product, it doesn't matter. And then we'll actually dive a little bit deeper into one certain aspect of product innovation that should be, inshallah, be very relevant where you're starting your journey. So as you participate in the hackathon in the next 2 days, hopefully this will, inshallah, give you as they say, unfair advantage over those who are not attending. All right. So, so with that in mind, I try to make this a little bit interactive. Actually, this is a little bit interactive. Otherwise, I mean, it's more fun that way anyway. So just so I know that people are all situated, I see only 2 people here, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4 people in the. How many are here? How many are attending? Those who join late in the chat, do you guys see a link? I'm posting it again in the chat, okay? That's linked to this board. And those who are here in the board, I locate this big circle here, and then put a sticky with your name, like I have here. I'm sending the link again in the chat momentarily. And then we'll start with the automation. Actually, one person even left. So from the Miro. So you know what? For the sake of time, I'll start with the presentation and we'll just use the chat for interaction. Okay. So I'm stopping the sharing momentarily, just so I have my bearing. Can you guys please and I'd love to have everyone's participation just to get the most out of it, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many participants? 5 participants, right? Can you please say where you are, like in terms of your like, are you a high schooler, college student, or professional? I think these are high schooler, college students, right? Just type it in chat. High school, high school. I have 2 people saying, are the others moderators? How about Tasnim, Amin, Ryan, Saleh, and Ismat Jamal? Are you guys here? Okay, high school. Okay, pretty much. I'll take it at that. Mostly high schoolers here. Excellent. So let's get back to our Miro board. So what we're starting is we are inshallah starting our journey as change makers. This is like a makers club that will be rolling out soon, inshallah, like very soon. And what you'll get a little bit taste of what would happen in the makers club, right? So, and when we say product, again, we mean product, service, or even when you think about a business, you can apply the same thing there. So this guy called Bill Gross, I'm not going to play this whole TED talk here, but he basically started the first venture studio back in 1999 or something in Los Angeles. And he launched over the last 30 years or so, 100+ startups, right? And he did some very, and many of them succeeded, many of them failed. And he did very thorough analysis of what makes a startup succeed. And when I say startup, again, what you'd be doing in this hackathon, starting a product, that is a startup, right? So that startup may or may not go somewhere, but I'm using products, startups, services. These are interchangeably in this talk. Okay. So this guy found analyzed what makes a startup succeed or fail. And the number one reason he found, right, that a product succeeds or fails is the timing of the product. And by timing, it means that is there a market pull for the product? It doesn't have to be a for-profit product. It may be a non-profit product as well. I mean, but as when you make something, are people is there a market for it? Do the people want it or they don't want it, right? Are they using it or they're not using it? There are other factors, of course. There's your team and execution, how well you execute it. Then how good of an idea is that, right? Sometimes when we are innovating at the beginning, when you start your product journey first, we think, oh, if idea is everything, right? But as you can see from here, statistically even, and this is proven again and again, that idea is only one component of it, right? And just as an anecdote, uh, in many cases, I mentor startups and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs as well. Many cases, people hold on to their ideas and don't are afraid to share it, but that's a myth. That I'm just saying it as an anecdote or an aside. That share your ideas freely, right? If there is, that will help you see how the market react, and we'll see how the how to measure markets. This number one thing, that is your product the right product for the right is the right time for your product. We'll see it more in the webinar, but spreading your idea freely also lets you have an understanding. Is the world ready for this or not, right? So I may roll out a product for going to Jupiter, right? I mean, it may be super innovative, but the world doesn't even need it right now, right? So there you go. So the number one takeaway from here is that when you're building a product, you have to always keep in mind that you want to make something that people need, want, and will use. And right now, as you are prepping up for the hackathon, you are somewhere here at the beginning of your journey, right? And this is a typical journey that any product will take. This is not the full picture, but this is pretty much from the conception of the idea. First, you want to validate that you are solving the right problem. Sometimes you think something is a problem, but it's not even a problem, right? So that's what we call problem market fit or problem fit, right? After that, you say you got a thumbs up from your research, right? Oh, this is something that people are really, it would be a good problem to solve, right? You move on to the second stage of your product innovation journey, right? Which is now you want to brainstorm your solutions, right? And then you you again go back to the user, test it, figure out of the 57 solutions you thought, which one actually solves the problem for the user, right? That's when you have achieved problem solution fit. After that, what happens is you can swap these two actually. At this point, when you are first testing out a product, always remember that you cannot solve, if say you are solving this AI for Tawa, right? Which is pretty much the theme for this hackathon. You will find out very early on that your market is what? Your market is segmented into many, many parts. How do you segment the market, right? Uh, is like, are you going to target high schoolers or men, women, kids, right? You can segment it by age, by gender, by location, by languages, and once you start listing, you'd see that there's so many segments, right? Out of that whole scope, you are a startup. You can only target a very narrow scope at the beginning, right? And that requires, but which market segment would you first go for, right? That itself is an exercise. And once you achieve that, then once you have achieved a good solution fit for a certain segment, then you move on to other segments. And that's when you achieve product market fit, right? And at that point, your startup is basically getting out of the startup mode. It's basically you, if you have figured this out, you have, I mean, very few products come this far. But we'll see how to change that percentage. But basically at that point you get out of the startup mode, become a full-fledged business. And this is the full life cycle, right? Even after you find growth at one point, most products, they kind of reach a plateau and then decline. So here, new products will be coming up and replacing them. I'll stop here momentarily. Any question? No question. Okay. Moving on. Just one second. Okay. So as you'll see, you'll start thinking about, oh, something to build, right? In this hackathon, that product, first you need to kind of figure out the why behind the product. There's a very good video I share with everyone always. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I'll share here as well. But you basically want to figure out, you're now thinking about problem market fit. Are you thinking about the right problem to solve, right? And nowadays you can, I mean, you won't probably get the most accurate answer, but you can at least ask ChatGPT something like act as, for example, you are innovating around this Dawa aspect of it, right? And how to use AI. Yeah, and say you are using ChatGPT for that, right? I actually would like to hear a little bit from you guys. What kind of, and please feel free to, can they unmute? Mostafis bhai, are they allowed to unmute or you have to unmute it? Mostafis bhai, I think, stepped out. All right. I'll just pick someone. Abdullah Shafi, you tell me that what kind of question would you want to ask ChatGPT to figure out, like, if you're figuring out, is this the right problem to solve when you're in the context of this hackathon, right?
So like basically anything like basically in the context of the hackathon, like basically like anything related to DAO, right? Like anything basically related to DAO, like that.
Yeah. So you are trying to figure out what to make, right?
Yes.
So first of all, thanks for being present there. There's a very simple format you can use when you're talking with ChatGPT. You can say act as an Islamic scholar or something like that, scholar who's in Dawa field. What are the major challenges you are seeing now, right?
Yeah.
So at the beginning, you would want to ask the ChatGPT or Google, whenever you're doing research, you want to find out what kinds of problems are they facing, right?
Yeah. So I'd probably ask something like probably like how to do Salah, like for like the new converts and stuff like that. Because
That's a very
for Dawa.
interesting angle. What challenges are the new converts facing, right?
Yeah.
You already have uh, uh, already have segmented the market. Do you see that you already in the Dawa space even, right? There are people who are antagonistic, who are on the borderline, who have just converted, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic. So this is the basically the point I'm trying to make is at the very beginning, before you even start to run, oh, let's make XYZ. Even before that, you want to step back a little bit and figure out, okay, what is the problem we are trying to solve and for who? Okay. So find your why first. Why are you even making something that you're making? And and later on we'll see how to create the hypothesis that I'm jumping a little bit. So thank you so much. I'm going back to the presentation. Am I sharing or am I not sharing right now? I'm not sharing. Okay. Do you see my screen, the Bart? Anyone? I can't hear your someone has to tell me because do you guys see my screen?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay. So thanks. So and the product itself is it has to it's balanced by two wings. In our deed, we balance what? We balance fear of Allah and love of Allah, and hope in His mercy, right? These are the two things we balance, right? When you are doing product design, the two things you'll balance is, are we building the right thing, where you'll be constantly talking to your target user. In our current example, you'd be talking to the, say, new converts if you're making a solution, if you want to make something for them. And then on the other hand is the build the thing right, which is your technology, which is all this RAG, your LLMs, and it doesn't even have our focus is AI in this year because of everything that is happening. But the problem you're solving will dictate what kind of solution you need, right? For example, I'll give you an example. Say you found such a grave problem with the new converts. For example, a grave problem may be their social isolation, right? Right when they get converted, they are like in a situation where the Sahabas were back then, right? All their families are not Muslims. They just became Muslim. That may not need a solution that requires AI. That may require some other, but you feel passionately about that solution, right? So the left side will dictate the right side. Your business side will dictate what kind of technology you need to solve the problem. Makes sense? All right. And so time for a little bit of a reality check here. That and this is not to put a damper on right before we start our hackathon week. This is a reality check, so that when this happens, you don't get discouraged. Most of the products in the market will fail. Like statistically, 80% of the products will fail. The reason is this, and it's a mathematically almost a mathematical certainty, right? That for a product to really succeed, right, you have to find the right problem, you have to find the right solution for the right group, then you have to have your marketing, your sales, your team, your execution, your funding, so many factors, right? If each of these factors even work 90% of the time, right, you succeed 90% of the time in the making the right decision, right? So if you do 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9, you'll see that the probability of success is very slim. it comes down to your almost 80% of the time you will fail and 20% succeed, right? But what to do then, right? I mean, do we just give up and don't do anything? Then the whole innovation process will stop, right? So people have been actually, this is a very favorite book of mine. Um, have you guys heard about prototyping? Anyone in this audience? What prototyping is?
Not really.
Not really. Prototyping is basically making something quick and dirty and to test it out, right? So in that case, there are two new words today, prototyping and pretotyping, right? So I want to draw parallel between this picture and the bird picture we saw, right? So what happens is when you design a product, like you'll start tomorrow, you first go through some prototyping steps, right? And just to validate your business idea that is there a need for this product, right? Or are your is the right problem to solve, and who is it solving for, to just test that part out. So prototyping allows you to do that very cheaply, very quickly. And then once you have validated, oh, this does solve a problem, then you kind of um, put some technology behind it, again, cheap and dirty, in a cheap and dirty way, to kind of bring something that moves to the audience. For example, you say, okay, a good example is for this new Muslims, you have identified that, hey, this social isolation is a real problem to solve. So then you go there, and there are steps I'll show right now. How are we doing in time? We're right in the middle. Yeah, we should be good here. So there was there are steps that you can take that to validate, is that a real problem for the new Muslims, social isolation, right? And that would be done by prototyping. And once you identify that, you may think of I'm just throwing it out there, that a special network for new Muslims, right? That uh, ties them up with Muslim hosts in their area, right? And there you may find that, oh, I can use this AI to there's some nice chat GPT like interface, so they can just ask, hey, who near me is hosting me, right? Um, so that's what prototyping will do. Clear? Okay. Now, this book, if you guys can get your hands on it, I would highly recommend Audible. It's like $10 a month, or you can get a book like this. And this is a highly recommended book. And this guy actually first came up with the term prototyping. He was a Google engineer, and then he was in his own startup, but that startup failed. Even when they executed flawlessly, they were a fantastic team. They had funding. Even then it failed because they failed at isolating the problem at the very beginning, right? The validating the problem at the very beginning. That's when he came up with a kind of a step-by-step process, learning from that mistake, so that when we start our journey, we can avoid those. So the easiest way to describe prototyping, right? That our gut reaction as innovators is, oh, I have just come up with a fantastic idea. Let me make something and let me try to sell it, right? and then we see that no one is interested. People go through extraordinary lengths, right? They will, and this is real. These are real stories. You will see all around, not all around you. You'll see some people do that. I have done it. No, not sucks, but anyway. So that you will see that people will make something. They will, even if it's a physical product, they will make things, order things from China, like fill up their garage with it, but then no one wants it, right? They will go to, they will do press releases and stuff. No one wants it. That's the left side, right? If we build it, we already built it, and we are trying to say, hey, would you buy it? And alternatively, what prototyping suggests is you first figure out, without going through all those steps, if there is a demand for it. And this doesn't have to be like something that, okay, we are just to make oodles of money, right? This can be very socially impactful products as well, right? But even that, you first establish the demand for it and then build it, and let the market guide what you will build, if that makes sense. I would this is part of a bigger course, so I would kind of short circuit this because of time, because I want to actually do a small experiment if people are open to participation here. So first, what you want to do when you, and I want you to take this one sentence, this sentence down as a note, right? So say, suppose tomorrow you come up with this idea of, we let's run with this new Muslim product for the new Muslim concept, right? So what would be your market engagement hypothesis for something like that? And what does it even mean is, how would you first like engage with the new Muslim market, right? Uh, at a higher level, we are thinking that, hey, a special social network that will help people, or pair up, that will pair up these new Muslims with Muslim hosts nearby, would be a beneficial thing, right? That's the hypothesis we are making, correct? When we are designing this product. Once you do that, you need to quantify, you need to come up with this, with a statement like this, that at least, say, 50% of new Muslims will sign up for a social network if I build it. Does that make sense? So once you do that, then you'll hyper zoom this and test this hypothesis. What you'll do is, you'll basically do a very completely no code solution in there are tons of, say, websites out there, just Wix, Weebly, whatever, right? Podia. You just go there and make just one single page. Hey, new Muslims, question mark. There's a social network for you. Never feel isolated again, right? Something like that. 3 lines, one email box, and send it to, say, 100 new Muslims now, right? See how many sign up for that, correct? And then you can actually validate this sentence. Did actually, out of 100, 50 signed up, right? And then you move on to the next, more involved tests. Any questions? I'll stop here a little bit. I'll take a breather. No questions at all? Okay. There's one kind of a meta comment here, right? That yes, silence is golden, yes, in many cases. And guess what? When you are talking to the users, the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs or product makers have is that they talk too much in front of the users, right? They're saying, oh, we are making X, Y, Z. Will you use it? No. The first step that you do is we, as product makers, we keep our mouth shut, ask the right questions, and just actively listen to what they're saying, right? But I'm just saying that this webinar is not one of those sessions. So please feel free to, if something is, some question is coming to your mind, please feel free to even chat or ask, okay? Moving on. Okay, this I need validation from someone. You guys again see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So up to this point, we are good, right? We thought about a problem, we thought about a market segment we'll use, and we started testing. At this point, we are prototyping, right? And this can be a, honestly, now many AI, very sophisticated, like co-pilots you can make in literally an hour or so, right? I'm sure in the RAG and other webinars they showed you, right? So you can make something real quick and dirty that is actually pretty sophisticated nowadays, and start testing away. And when testing, right, so you are gathering data, right? You might be tempted to use other people's data, right? You might see uh, some data in somewhere about new Muslims, right? But the difference between this, use your own data, right? Yoda is basically there's no comparison between these two, between the quality and the confidence level of that data, of the data you will gather by yourself. So when you're doing the testing, always try to devise something so you gather your own data. And also keep an eye on these three things. One is, this is like a, how long is it taking? How long would it take? So for example, you're thinking about 3, 4 types of tests, right? You can, a test you can do very quickly, like in one day, and will cost you $5, right? Versus something that will take a week to do and will cost you $500, right? Which one will you do first? Obviously the cheap one, right? uh, First of all, if it's relevant, assuming that all the tests are relevant. And then quality of data, right? You can devise for that new Muslim product, you can devise an experiment targeting, say, the imams. They have some insight about new Muslim, but would you get, which data would give you the most confidence that you are on the right path? Is it what the imam says, or is it 100 actual new Muslims say? Of course, the latter, right? So that's something that you have to keep your mind on as well. And last but not least, when you get the data, you have to promise not to lie to yourself, right? In our mind, and as product makers, everybody will fall into this category, right? Because you are vested, you have your heart is tied to that. That's your baby, right? In a way. So if the market is telling you that only, say, out of those uh 500 non-Muslims you reached out, say only 100 visited your website, and probably you got 2 of them saying, yes, the social media would be, social network would be very valuable. Clearly, I mean, you can repeat it another time just to see it's right. But that's something has to give, right? You have to take a look at why such low conversion, right? So we cannot lie to ourselves just to keep going with our idea, right? So you have to be honest. I would have done a real world prototyping example. I'm not sure whether people will participate here or not. How about this? I'll do an example. I'll do a real world test here. So do we want like 15 minutes of our time back, or should we go ahead with this real world prototyping test? If I get just say why or no. Yes is we want to do the test, or no. And I won't get offended. Just say why or no. If I get 5 whys or even 3 whys, I'll go for it. Otherwise, we'll wrap here. Just say yes or no in the chat. Do we want the real world example or not? I got 1 why. Great. So listening to our own advice, right? You have to be very honest about the data. There's only 1 why, right? So we would wrap up here, and this thing is recorded, so I'll share the links. And is Mustafa here?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So I think I delivered pretty much the gist of it. So this is something that inshallah, if
Should I stop now?
yeah, you can stop the recording.
Inshallah.